are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning with ReelChat. I've got Chris Carter here for me from California, and we are going to have our guest, Sean Berube, joining us in a few seconds. Chris, how you doing out there, buddy?
I'm good, man. Happy Sunday morning. I'm out, tomorrow's my birthday, Nate. Did you know that?
I did know that. I was just about to say, actually, I saw it on Facebook, man.
So it's been a good Monday, or Sunday so far. I'm drinking coffee. I'm cruising into my weekend or my weekend. We get to talk about the movie we just watched, and we get to talk about someone who was in it. It's great, man. I'm excited for today. How are you, bro?
know.
How's your Sunday morning?
I'm doing okay, man. I'm doing all right. We had a loss in the family earlier this week, but I'm doing better. I'm doing better, man. I mean, I'm excited about today's show, and this is our first time that we're talking about a topic that we actually have an actor joining us on the show that was actually in the show, in the movie itself. So I'm really excited about that as well. So that's going to be great. And it's going to be great. I think it's, without further ado, let's invite Sean on the show. Sean, welcome to ReelChat, man. It's glad to have you.
Morning, Sean.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely, man. We're really excited about this topic and really excited to have you on the show to talk about your experiences and everything going with it, man. Hey, real quick before we jumped in, you watched the movie in theaters, I understand, with your wife, right?
I did. Army of the Dead. I went to the theater. It was only being shown at Cinemark. It was a special thing with Cinemark. So yeah, I went the night it came out, and it was epic. That was one of those movies, man. I didn't want to watch on the small screen. I wanted to definitely get the whole experience with the sound and the big screen, and it was definitely well worth it.
That's awesome, bro. That's really great.
That's awesome, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I mean, great. I mean, it's awesome just like to be able to not only be seeing a movie in theaters again, especially with everything that's been going on in the last year, but also being able to watch a film that you yourself were in, and like be sitting there in the film just enjoying the experience with your family, your loved ones and stuff like that, and seeing something that you were part of from like the ground up. And you had to keep this information under wraps for quite a while time because it was, delayed, right?
Oh my God, that's one of the hardest things these big projects is you gotta sign these NDAs saying you won't talk or anything about it until it gets released. So yeah, we filmed this way back in my part of it, August of 2019.
Wow,
Oh
man.
shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I had no idea.
That's crazy, bro. That's awesome. I mean, to keep it under wraps for that long. I know. You mentioned something about it back in the time. You're like, oh, I'm going to be in one of the biggest films that I've ever been in, and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna drill you for questions. Like, nope, I can't say anything, Nate. I can't. I mean, Sean and I go way back, man. I met him when he was arresting me on a show that actually never went anywhere. But it was one of the things. You get a part of a project and stuff like that. Even if it doesn't go anywhere, you meet some friends, you build relationships and stuff like that too. And I'm just excited to talk to you, Sean, about your drive in this, because originally you were still a cop at the time when we first.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really cool how things come full circle. I've been a Tucson police officer for over 20 years. I just retired last year to pursue the acting, and in 2018, at the end of 2018, a buddy of a buddy said, "Hey, why don't you come be on this film?" And basically, long story short, is I ended up getting the lead role in it, and I got my feet wet with acting, and I said, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And then, I just, I said, screw it. I'm just going to reach out to everybody making films. The worst going to happen is they say no. And I remember reaching out to Chris Prado, and he was doing that TV show that you were just talking about. And I ended up meeting you and doing a scene with you. And yeah, because I'm a real police officer. They were like, hey, man, can you play a police officer for this role? And I said, sure. And then ended up on scene with you and getting to arrest you and do a traffic stop on you, and it was pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun, man. I remember sitting with you and talking to you about it. You had such a drive for it.
yeah, and I just love the acting world because you meet so many people and all the projects you do, and you build up these like friendships that just last forever and ever. And that was the same with you and I, man. We connected and we stayed friends, you know, via social media or whatever, um and here we are today. I mean, I think it's just the coolest thing.
Absolutely. Chris, why don't you go ahead and let's open it up. Let's open up to the questions we have about this film, Army of the Dead. You know,
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah.
Sean, you
I
mind if
think,
we mind if we ask you a few questions?
yeah, we should.
No,
ask
that's
first.
what I'm here for, man. I
All right, that's
I
awesome.
definitely want to. It was an amazing experience, and I'm excited to talk about it. So go for it.
Yeah. So go into like the hiring. Like I don't want to say the hiring process because that seems so foreign. But like, how did you get people to get their eyes? Who Army of the Dead is huge. I mean, Zack Snyder, who we've heard from Snyder Cut, who's done so much for the DCEU. Netflix is financing the film. I mean, it looks great. It's a polished studio film. So how did you kind of get, for a guy who was a cop who's probably been in the acting game for, let's call it, maybe, how long have you been in the acting game for? Like 5 years, 4 years maybe?
No, I mean, I always tell people for my whole law enforcement career was acting, and that acting has dire consequences if you don't act right, right? Um, but officially, doing real like acting stuff with the end of 2018 is when I started, but 2019 was really when I just hit the ground running and just went for it full head. And it was hard because I was working a full-time job as
Yeah.
a police officer, and then pursuing the acting stuff and having a family. um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
taxing on you, it's exhausting, it's long hours, but it was all worth it because when you want something you go for it.
Well, and that's a
And
great point because you mentioned that you've been in it since 2018, 19, and then in 2019 you get into one of the bigger films that have probably one of the biggest films that's come out this year. So that must have been a huge win for you. So how did you get the call? I'm sure you probably jump up, and then how does it go from there? Like how does the process from you, the guy who's kind of new to the game, get casted in one of the biggest movies that was going to be put out probably last year and then got pushed back to this year?
so Netflix bought out a big studio out in Albuquerque, New Mexico. um, and I had come across a casting director looking for specifically people who are really in great shape, muscular, um, for some roles. And to be honest, it didn't say what it was for. And like I said
They
to
never
Nathan a
do.
minute ago,
It never
yeah,
does.
yeah, I didn't even know what it was for. And I was like, and then, like I told Nathan a minute ago, I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna put in for everything, man. And the worst they can do is say no. So I freaking reached out and I said, hey, here's a picture of me. I'm in good shape, muscular. I put the description, and they actually contacted me and said, hey, we'd love you to come out. So I got an invite to come out for an audition / interview. And when I get out there to New Mexico, I was I was I almost died when Zack Snyder walks out. He's like, hey, how you doing? Thanks for coming out. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out here for my little movie. And I'm like, little movie?
Yeah, right.
That's great. That's a great freaking experience right there, man. Meeting the director right on your first day like that. You have to go through all this rigmarole of meeting the casting directors, you meet the producers, but to meet Zach right off the bat, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I found out and I learned quickly that Zack is the type that he has such a passion for the films he makes. He wants to be involved in like every bit of it. And he just has a vision, and he wants his vision to come to life. So yeah, he just gets involved, and he was down to earth, really humble, and just we shot the shit for a little bit. And then after it was all done, he shook my hand and said, hey, uh, I'd love to have you if you want to be in this. And I was like, yeah.
Dude, that's so cool.
That's awesome, man. I love that. That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
great. That actually opens up for my next question. So you meet Zack, you get hired by the director right off the bat, like right there. You know, like what was the process after that? Like, what was your day-to-day filming? Like, did you have to go through makeup? Like, was that an hourly process itself? You know, did you meet the other cast members in makeup? Like, how long did that take?
Yeah, so I had to go back for a fitting wardrobe and choreography. So I went back up for that, and they found the clothes they wanted us to wear, and then the some of the stuntmen who had been doing some of the other scenes, they came out and they basically taught us how they want the alpha zombies to walk and move and look, and they had this certain like walk to them, this like the zombie swag. Um, so yeah, we practiced all that, and then I left, and then for the day of filming, I went back out there, and that was a long day. So I was up there probably. I
Yeah, that's
remember
wild.
driving from Tucson to Albuquerque throughout the night. Probably got there like, oh God, where did I get there? Like 2, 3 in the morning, and I just slept in my car for a few hours, and then the show time was 6 a.m. and uh, just got there, and they sat us in the makeup chair. I probably sat in that for about 3 hours
Oof.
as they decided and figured out how they wanted to, uh, paint me and put all these blood and gore on me and stuff like that. And after makeup was done, they then drove us out to this location that, oh my God, it was amazing. So they like dug this huge crater in the ground just out in New Mexico, and they set up this whole looking destroyed Las Vegas area with crumbled buildings and stuff, and they had all these huge green screens being held up by these huge like tractor forklift stuff, like green screens bigger than my house. It was crazy to see. And yeah, Zach came out and he said, he's very involved, and he was like, hey, this is how I want you guys to do it. It's basically that scene if you watch the movie where the horse zombie is up there with the leader,
Yeah.
and then all the alpha zombies come running over from behind him, and we come jumping over the hill. We're jumping down the hill and doing all kinds of cool stuff, and then we run through that little uh, broken down area of Las Vegas, and it was just so cool to be involved in that, and I was so happy to get that little behind the scenes clip that I posted on my social media, because that kind of gets to show you what I'm trying to describe right now. It's just so amazing,
I did see
and
that.
it's just
Yeah,
it's
I
so
did.
amazing.
I think I clipped that on my TikTok. I think somehow. Um, Dude, that's awesome, man. So you actually did your own stunts and stuff like that too. You didn't have a stunt double for any of the motion or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, so that was cool to be able to do that too. Uh, so yeah, we're just coming over and we're jumping off these rocks into this like soft sand and just going down the hill and doing our thing. And I remember one of the takes, I'm running down the hill, and another stuntman, Alpha Zombie, comes like jumping off the rock. I mean, and I guess he didn't see me or whatever, but yeah, he just like landed right on top of me, and we all went tumbling and shit. It was like,
Oh
oh man,
no!
that'd be that'd be cool if it made it into the film, but
So, like, did you have any like fighting choreography done with another one of the main actors? Did you have any
no,
any face to
no,
face? No interactions like that.
no. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that kind of cool stuff,
I feel you,
but I
man.
definitely would have been game because I definitely have lots of fight experience. So
For sure, especially with your training and stuff like that too. Yeah, I was curious about that. See if you had, if there was anything else like from any of the scenes or anything like that we can find you in, that you can like mention to listeners or us right now too, because I want to watch it again.
so the two
Yeah.
scenes I was in is that one with the horse where we come over the hill, and then there's another one where you have the actress that was one of the main actresses. She's like hiding in a burned down car with like a skeleton next to
Oh,
her.
the daughter. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
and then one of the alpha zombies jumps on the car, is like, and she's like all freaking out, so it doesn't hear her, and then he takes off.
That
So
was
yeah,
you.
I was. So yeah, I was part of that scene.
Oh, okay. No, were you the zombie that jumped on the top of the car, or were you the ones that are like outside the car?
No, outside the car.
Okay, cool, man. That's awesome, man. Chris, what's your next question that you got for him?
So about production, because like a lot of people, Nate and I have talked about productions on here before. Nate's been in some films. I've been on a couple of films. What can you tell people about being on a Zack Snyder Netflix produced production? Like, what was, Nate talks about the day to day, but like, what are some of the things that you remember most about being on set? Some of the things you might have been like, holy shit, that's cool. Did you have a holy shit, that's awesome moment on that film?
Dude, that whole experience was holy shit. So, and I want to like make sure the audience grasps like where I'm coming. So up until this point, all I really have done is like independent films, no budget, low budget. So you're on set, there's a skeleton crew, and you're probably getting like Little Caesars pizza for lunch.
That's true.
So then I end up on this set, and I mean, just picture probably like $1 million a day being spent on the production here, and you get there and there's so many people, there's so much equipment, like state of the art, like these cameras like you couldn't even imagine being held up by cranes and stuff, and the camera Zach's using, and the food and the PAs running around. Just I mean, I still remember this moment. This moment sticks out to me because of that comment I just made. Like we're used to getting Little Caesars pizza on set, so they come running over and they're like, "Sir, can I get you anything?" I was like, "Well, what do you got?" And she's like, "Well, we got salmon entree, we got prime rib entree, this chicken entree is delicious," and I'm like, "What?"
I have everything.
So I'm like, "Yeah, I did." I was like, "Can I get one of these?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "Sure."
Oh!
Off, and she runs back and brings me it, and it was delicious. I was like at a 5-star restaurant, man. It was so freaking good.
That's
And
so
I mean,
cool.
I ate so good on the set of this film, man.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome.
Man, it's
The,
like yeah. Go, Chris. Yeah, yeah.
Makeup. To tell you about makeup, because I was in a show that they had to do makeup for me, and Nate mentioned it before. From the process of when you get in the chair, did they already have a look designed for you, or in that moment were some of the producers coming in being like, let's do this to him, let's do that to him? I know you mentioned they had a look for the alphas, but for you specifically, would they have something in mind? Did they design on the spot while they were doing your makeup?
So yeah, they art and stuff like that was artwork was created prior and during pre-production, so they kind of had an idea of the look in general that they wanted all the Afro zombies to have, and then for each person it was a little bit of creative freedom and uniqueness to each person. And after they would do the makeup, they would take some pictures and send them over to the producers and stuff, the people that give the green light, and basically they would tweak the makeup and design until everybody gave the thumbs up. So for me, for example, sat me in the chair, did some makeup, tweaked it a little bit, did some makeup, tweaked it a little bit until everybody was on board saying, "Yep, that's the look we want." And that was how that went down. And let me tell you, man, I give it to these actors that do these movies that they're in full body paint and special effects and all that stuff, because it is a long process. So, I mean, you got to show up hours early to get in the makeup, and then you're sitting in that makeup and special effects and stuff like that for 12 to 16 hours each filming day. And then you got to get it removed off before you go for the day. So it's taxing and exhausting. And I just saw this article with Dave Bautista, and he's pretty much done with Guardians of the Galaxy because that costume he puts on, or all the makeup and special effects is so exhausting on that.
Yeah, I bet he was happy that he didn't have to do it this time. Like he didn't have to freaking be a part of that this time. He's like, all these guys are up in the makeup chairs, not me. Thank God. That's crazy, man. That is awesome. I'm excited to watch it again. Honestly, I watched it Friday with the wife. We sat down, watched the whole thing. I was literally like, I'm looking for you, and you said that they had you uncredited in the credits. Like, was there? Did you know about that or?
I've seen that in other movies. Sometimes with the some of the characters that are in bulk in films,
Mhm.
there's just no way for them to. I guess they could, but they don't take the time to sit there and list every 100 alpha zombie that was hired, painted, and filmed on it. So usually what they do is they just give credit to the casting director that hired all the alpha zombies, and that's what they did. So if you go through the credits, usually Cindy Alessi casting, and basically they give them the credit. But it still goes on IMDb.
Oh,
So.
I think we're losing you. Hold on. Can you hear us? I think the audio might have gone out.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Chris, can you hear him?
Yeah, no. I was just I love hearing stories like this, man. My girlfriend's an actress out here too, and so I think you guys are actually rep by the same agents. Do you use Spark Talent? Is that right?
Yeah. Whoa,
Yeah.
small world. That's crazy.
It's funny, right? So again, from Tucson in LA, it's funny, but yeah, man. So dude, I love hearing actors talk about the times they're on set and whatnot, because it's such a cool experience for people who don't know to know that. Like, I've been on some stuff, but hear what you talk about being on a Zack Snyder film, dude. I love it. I eat it up. So I think it's such a cool experience, and we actually share a common filmmaker buddy too from Tucson, Jesse Jackson. You were in A Cry in the Night, I believe. I'm hearing.
Yes, that was my acting debut.
Hey, so Jesse was one of my cameramen on the feature. Ironically enough, that Nate was involved with Overwatch a few years ago. So I go way back with Jesse, and Jesse's good friends with my girlfriend. So it's a small world, man, and it's funny how like those connections are they just kind of build, and like you mentioned, you put enough feelers out there, you talk to enough people, you create relationships, and because dude, being an artist fucking sucks sometimes. Like, it's it's like, fuck, it's like, this sucks. But if you have people that are kind of with you and like you embrace the suck, like I'm sure you've heard that on the force, and I talked to my brother who's ex-military, and he says, yeah, if you embrace the suck, and if you got people that suck and you're in that together, it makes the suck less. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean? So
Totally makes sense. Yes. And I tell people all the time, like, when groups of troops go to other countries and go to war and stuff, it's what keeps you sane and what keeps you going is each other over there, who you're with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your brothers and sisters that you're with, and you can either make it a great situation with the people you're with, or the people you're with can bring you down and make it horrible. And the same thing goes for filmmaking. If you end up on set with a casting crew that's just all Debbie Downers and low energy, and they can kind of ruin the whole chemistry and the mood of the film process,
I remember when I first started acting,
But
being
luckily,
extras on set. It's like you said, you're in the trenches with these guys. You're going through the same thing day in, day out. So when you make friends like that and you create, camaraderie with the group and stuff like that, it makes a whole different experience. You don't feel like odd man out anymore. You're part of a team.
correct.
Even though you see you see these big actors getting the scenes and the lines and stuff like that, there's still a lot of fun and enjoyment watching that, learning from that, getting the experience anyway. And then also afterwards, you can get other jobs and just like people telling you, "Hey, I'm a part of this. Come do this with me," and stuff like that too. Have you gotten any other jobs like lined up from this? Like, has anything spiraled off of this to help you with your career?
Anything specific from this one? Let me think.
Sorry, a
I
little
mean,
curveball for you.
I forged some great friendships with the other actors that they all live in New Mexico still, and I've actually went and stayed with them a couple times for some other projects I ended up getting in New Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I would say in that aspect, it came out to be really handy as far as pursuing filming in New Mexico, because a lot of times for the lower end roles, they're looking for local hires only. So you basically have to have a place. You have to tell them, basically, I have a place to stay, um, and I can be considered a local hire.
Right.
So that's coming very handy. So the relationships I forged out there from Army of the Dead actually has come to work out in my favor.
That's
That's
great,
awesome.
man. Chris,
Yeah.
did you have any other questions for him with the, you know, Army of the Dead specifically, or anything with his future projects or past projects?
Oh man, Sean, I'm just looking to see your. I'm just looking to watch your journey, man. Like I said, I feel like I feel like I know a little bit about you now. I hopefully we can meet up, have a drink, have coffee when you come back to California, and we can shoot the shit about projects because I think that's you nailed it. It's the biggest thing. If you got someone you can stay with, where you can be in something, however you grow your resume, it doesn't really matter because they're just gonna ask for what have you been in, and you say this, and oh shit, how
Yeah,
no one's gonna
it's
give a shit if you slept in your car or you slept in a Hilton.
for sure.
It's like
The biggest acting rule is not what you know, it's who you know.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
so true.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, it's so true because yeah, a project comes up and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for somebody for this," and if somebody knows you, then hey, I know a guy,
yeah,
and then that's how it all unfolds. And all of a sudden, you're getting a phone call or a Facebook message or an email. Hey, Sean, are you available for this project coming up? And I mean, I love it when you're just out of nowhere, you just get hit by one of those messages, and you're like, "Oh,
right.
heck yeah!" And yeah, I've gotten many of those now, just from all my relationships formed throughout the journey so far. And
That's awesome.
like you're saying, it doesn't matter how big or small your role is, it plays an important part for the film. I
Hell yeah.
mean, if you don't have those people in the background acting like they're at a party or working in an office, the scene would be dull and dead, and it just wouldn't work out.
I agree.
So
That's huge because most people think, "Oh, I'm just an extra." No, no, no. You're the core of that scene. Without you, it falls apart and it's not as interesting. It doesn't
correct.
feel real. There are no small parts in film. That's one of the biggest things I've
Yeah.
always thought about. There's no small parts.
And maybe some actors out there get lucky and just bam, all of a sudden they just get shot to the top. But you look at everybody. I mean, just Brad Pitt. That guy was doing extra work with uh, Central Casting, and
Yeah.
then he got his big break on Thelma and Louise, and bam, he was done.
Yep.
Um,
I remember watching
so
him
yeah,
in that one movie with what was it like? It was written by Tarantino, and he played a
True
he.
Romance.
That's it. I love that movie, man. And
That
that
movie
beanie
is
he
one of my
found.
favorites.
He found that beanie on the beach and he just wore it that day. He found it out there and he picked it up, put it on in Venice Beach, and then that's what he wore in that scene. Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
man. And
he was just a little stoner.
you wanted to mention
Yeah.
something about being in Tucson. You were in a film that's coming out, and they were looking for people to be
Oh
a
yeah.
part of
Tell
it.
us.
Yeah,
Tell us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm here in Tucson right now for some military duty I have to do because I'm an Air Force reservist, and just so happens filmmaker out here is shooting his show Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and he had a role that he needed me for, so it worked out perfect. And on Wednesday, we're asking all of Tucsonans, whoever's available, whoever's interested in being this cool film, we're going to be pitching it to HBO and Netflix and try to get on a network. But we're filming a scene at the Maverick, which is a country bar down on Tanque Verde in
mm-hmm.
Tucson. From 3 to 6, we're looking for people to be in the audience. And basically, the show is about kind of like a Chippendale type thing, male strippers. And we're looking for people to just be in the audience and go crazy and help us make the scene look authentic and real. So if
Great,
you're
man.
available on Wednesday, 3 to 6 of this week,
I'll have to
come
check it
out to the
out.
Maverick.
I'll
Yeah,
have to check. Do we have to respond? Is there a place we need to sign up for it beforehand, prior, or do you want people to show up?
you can actually just show up, but if you want, you can reach out to you, me, um, however they want to do it.
Yeah, man. Put it in the
And
chat if you have the chat pulled up or anything like that. Put it in the chat and so people can read it, and I'll post that up on YouTube and stuff like that too, and social media. Why not, man? That'd be great. I'll even stop by. I'd love to see you.
cool, yeah. And then after we're done filming it, we're having a little after party. So
That's great,
um,
bro. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and during the filming, they'll be handing out free drinks and stuff that. So
Oh shit! Y'all talking about
The Maverick?
That's a great lead
Who
into that.
can pass that up, bro?
exactly.
Hell yeah.
And who knows, man? You might end up on a show that gets put on HBO or whatever. And I mean, that's one thing I've learned in this business is you just don't know what show is going to be a hit.
Exactly.
You don't know what audiences are just going to attract to, and then before you know it, you get a show that starts getting traction. People love it, and before you know it, you're doing a 10-season show, and it's like the kids from Stranger Things, their first episode. That show was passed off of other networks, and finally Netflix took it, and bam, it just became huge. They could have never guessed that.
No.
It depends on like what people want to watch and how good it is, you know, what the chemistry's like, the writing, dialogue, all that good stuff, man. Definitely.
Yep.
Sean, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Real Chat and taking time out of your day and your busy schedule to be a part of this. Thank you so much, guys. Check him out on IMDb, Army of the Dead on Netflix, and if you're in the Tucson area, stop by the Maverick at 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Sean, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, buddy.
All right, bye.
Take care. Chris, that was so cool to have Sean on the show, man. That was awesome, man. Getting a little
Nate,
behind the scenes.
You're a booker, man. Like, I swear, everybody you get, I'm like, that's a great get. That's a great get. That's a great get. Like, I'm gonna have to hire you to be our booker or something. Give you like, I don't know, $50 a week or something because you're killing it, man.
Dude, I love networking, man. I when I first started acting, I created a Facebook group online and stuff like that too to help people network. It's like one of the first ones on there before all these ones blew up about like Arizona actors and all this other stuff. It was I think it was called Moment Before. It allowed people to showcase casting opportunities, show trailers and stuff like that too, and just shoot the shit with other co-artists and stuff like that too that they're writing stuff.
Yeah.
And that's actually how you and I met, because Taylor Plessity, who was on one of my features at the time, she showed that and she's like, "Oh, look up this guy," and she sent me the information through the thing. And I looked up you. We met up at Espresso, had coffee and stuff like that, and talked about Overwatch. So
that was the best thing that came out with knowing Taylor.
I
have no problem saying that. So
dude, let's get into this movie, you and me. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, let's dance. Let's talk about Army of the Dead on Netflix, which just came out. Like, this is. I mean, talking to Sean couldn't have come at a better time because the movie was released. I think it was Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Eastern Standard Time, I think. So everybody's been streaming about it, right? Everybody's been talking about it. Everybody has been mentioning it. I guess it's doing really, really well. All right, let's. I don't want to get too ahead of myself because I'm excited. My coffee's kicking in.
For sure. I want to go over like some of the cool things that I found about the movie. Is that chill? Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do it.
Some people don't know this. The movie was written 10 years ago, like around 2004. It was like held back because the original one. His directorial debut was Dawn of the Dead, which was actually written by, as you know, James Gunn, who directed Dave Bautista. And Dave Bautista backed out of doing Suicide Squad with James Gunn so he could do this movie with Zack, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, the opening scene took like 15 days to shoot, man. It was like one of the toughest things that they had to do on the set, which was weird. They said that was the toughest scene that they filmed. And coincidentally enough, Sean was talking about the cameras that Zack and everybody was using. They blew up a red camera in the car when it like hits the cars full on in that head-on collision. They blew up a red camera, and the footage, like hard drive that they used, they were looking for it because it blew up and it landed out in the grass. And Zack and everybody had to go look for it, and that's the footage that they used from that scene.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a $40,000 camera. Jared Land was posting about it. Anytime a director uses red camera. So Jared Land owns Red. He also created Oakley sunglasses. So the dude's hurting for money. But he's based out here just like because Red is. And so anytime a film uses a red camera, Jared will go into talking about the specs that was used, the camera that was used. David Fincher for Mank used a red camera, so he pushed him a lot during the academies. And now that Zack's Army of the Dead came out, he used a red Monstro, which is I think a $50,000. And they're not easy to come by, right?
They're not.
They're all made, for people who don't know, they're all made singular. There's not an assembly line. An individual goes in there and does it themselves. So
it's like a Ferrari.
Exactly. So when you buy a red camera, you're on a list, and then you might not get it for 6 months because of the way you put. I did not know that. That's an expensive, crash.
They actually have that camera up in the Red Studios that you can actually go and see. You actually
really?
go into the studio, the Red Studio Museum and stuff like that. Up there, it's like showcased. Like this was the camera that they used and they blew up and stuff like that. I thought that was neat. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's really fucking cool, man. I mean,
Yep.
50K. Like, hey, let's just put this in the car and see what happens.
Zack apparently has this whole he has this persona like Sean was talking about being very personable. Like the actor Hardwick, that was the guy with the saw.
Yeah.
He was hired right out the gate too. He didn't even audition. Zack went up to him and has been following his career and stuff like that too, and offered him the role for that as well. So that was really interesting to find out that Sean actually went through a similar experience as well too. So that's really cool to know about that kind of stuff about Snyder. Here's a little Easter egg that most people don't know about the movie as well too. This came out before and was actually filmed before the release of Zack Snyder's cut. When they're going into the vault in the very beginning, I remember watching this with Rachel and I saw this and I was like, wait a minute, are those film canisters? The Snyder Justice League cut makes an appearance in the film. It's actually on the side of the wall. Yeah, it's on the side of the wall near the vault. When they open it up, you can see all the canisters. And when somebody was tweeting Zack, hey, were you ever going to see the Justice League? Did you actually make it? He took a picture on set because he actually put it in the film because he didn't know if it was going to be released. Yeah. So he wanted to put it out there. And yeah, I thought that was really cool to know. I was oh, that's it. That's cool.
It's fucking cool.
Right?
That's awesome. I love that.
And go for it. Yeah.
No, keep going. I've got anecdotes I want to add too, but you're on a roll. Go for it.
Here's another interesting thing. The chopper pilot that was cast in the film.
Oh, yeah.
That role was actually originally Chris D'Elia, who was the chopper pilot, and he was fired from the set when the allegations came out against the assault cases against him and stuff like that. That chopper pilot did all of her own scenes, green scene, by herself. She actually never worked with another actor on the set. They did something very similar with that in Justice League with Ben Affleck and Jared Leto when they did the ending scene between Joker and Batman. So I couldn't even tell, but it makes sense now looking at the film from that standpoint because they did it so well. Zack's really good at that.
So I had heard about that right before it because I figured it'd be like an over the shoulder where you could have a stand-in like that. I'm like, okay, well that's how you could do that. But no, so for people that haven't seen it, there's a point when she and De Bautista are talking in a hallway, and they're very close. They're in basically a two-shot. And for people that don't know, a two-shot is the actors are in the same frame. There is no one actor and then an over the shoulder to the other actor. They're both in the same frame. So to see that, I'm like, that's awesome. Because in the helicopter, she was separated. You could kind of see it. I get that. And then when they first recruit her, she's on the other side of the fence. I could kind of see how you faked that.
Yeah.
But when they're in the hallway talking, I'm like, no. Maybe they filmed it with D'Elia and then they just kind of, keyed him out and placed her in there. But that's not at all what happened. So that, when you see the movie, understand that actor was never in the same room as those other actors. Which
no, man. And especially when she's going in between the zombies when they're hibernating.
Yeah.
That was nuts. To be able to do that with green screen. I mean, just looking at that takes talent from the camera operator, the other extras and stuff like that too, and then also the actor trying to figure out, okay, where are they standing? Okay, they're over here. Okay, now I have to see and be fearful of all this stuff because it's a high intensity scene. That was cool to know that part.
Yeah, and he's great at that. Zack, honestly, I've got my issues with the film and my issues with him as a director, but when it comes to the visual aspect of things, he's in the top three of three directors I could think of that really can sell a digitally enhanced scene because that opening,
right.
You mentioned, is fucking incredible. That is his niche. That's what he's really good at. Because you look at a film like Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch was incredible. It's still incredible. I mean, granted, the story, but again, I could say this about all of Zack's movies. The story's a little loose and the characters are a little meh, but it looks incredible. And so does Army of the Dead.
This is the first film he's done digitally. All the other films he's done was either 3.5 millimeter, This is actually the first film he did digitally itself. Not only that, Chris, here's something that you might find interesting because you and I both know how hard this could be. This primarily, 95% of this film was done with natural light.
Yeah, that's
That's
I can
tough.
See that being outside, yeah. I know that so there is a BTS segment after the film, and he used the Monstro. That was the camera the Red Monster. That's the camera that he primarily used, which is a large format camera. Mm-hmm. So it captures a lot of light by the sensor, and also the lenses he was using are a set of vintage lenses that I think he mentioned he didn't adjust the T-stop, which is the f-stop for people that don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just allows the max amount of light in there, which that's why you got the shallow depth of field through the entire film, because
Yeah.
everything was shot what they call wide open, with the widest aperture you could get, so it lets the most amount of light in. So I could see that being it, but that's unheard of when you're inside. When you're inside, like in the casino, that becomes an issue. When they're in the vault, that becomes an issue. When they're going to the zombies, that becomes an issue. But when you're outside, not so much. But it's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That I did not know.
Really cool, interesting thing. So what anecdotes did you have about the film before we dive into the issues I had with it?
It's such a it's funny. Zack loves like supernatural stuff, right? Like he talks about, they've got that long in the beginning part of it, the two drivers, is it an alien, is it from Area 51, whatever. And I've always said, and I'm not the first person to say this, but where Zack Snyder's films feel like video games. And so I don't know if you noticed, I didn't notice until I went back and I checked for things that I may have missed. There's an Easter egg in the very beginning of the film that shows 2 UFOs. And I'm thinking,
Yep, because of Area 51.
Yes. And so did you see the UFOs?
Yeah, they had the strobes when they were driving on the street. It was like up in the sky. Yeah.
And then they pop off. I missed it the first time, but I'm like, oh, that's totally fucking Zack leaning into like these ninjas that people are saying. But like, from what I have heard, he said he really enjoyed the intimate shooting experience. And so, to me, I'm like, what the fuck? This was a multi-million-dollar production funded by Netflix. Like we just heard Sean say, they created a set in New Mexico basically, and they built the strip, and the BTS is incredible from that.
Right.
But like, for him to hear him say that, and he's referencing Warner Brothers and Justice League, right? That's what he's talking about, because I can't imagine that being very intimate. You've got EPs, you have studio presidents, EPs, sub EPs, VPs, and like this slew of people you have to kind of run your idea and filter it through. But Zack was the writer, the director, the executive producer, and the DP.
Yeah, and the DP.
Like,
yeah.
So when he says, it's personal to him because he's so involved with it, I believe it. And so when the actors are talking about, he's holding the camera on the shoulder, he's like, yeah, do it again. Just we're in the moment, just roll it again. Like, that's like indie level shit. That's like what you and I were doing, and we probably would still do it, when we're shooting. Okay, that's great. Let's take it back. Let's just go. We're not going to reset all these fucking cameras. We're not going to set all this stuff back. And so to hear the actors talk about how excited he was to do that leads me to think that this dude's just a filmmaker at heart. Like, you're not in it for the studio. You just want to make movies. Like, you just want to tell stories.
It's one of the things I love about him.
And that's something that resonates with, I think, definitely me, and I'm sure you too. So to hear him say that, I think that maybe it's not the best of his films, but it's maybe the one that he had the most fun doing recently. Because I can't imagine the Justice League Snyder cut was any fun for him. Imagine the fight he had to do just to get that on screen. But
right.
And so let's get into the movie. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to talk about. Spoiler alert: there are 2 prequels and a sequel already lined up for it.
Oh, they got a sequel lined up. Oh wow, I didn't know they had a sequel. I mean, they definitely left it open for one. I didn't know they had it green lighted already. That's cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's a real quick. Okay, go because what I'm going to lead into my sequel ties into the movie review. So
a little bit, yeah. Okay, so honestly, yes, it did feel like a video game. It was kind of entertaining, but there's a lot of parts in this film that just took me out of it a couple times. Like, for example, like, I don't like nitpicking movies. It just comes naturally being a writer, director, editor, your own self, I think. But, like, when he's planning on bringing the daughter, he's like, no, I'm not bringing her. All of a sudden, 5 minutes later, he's bringing her. There was, like, no conflict from the other team members about bringing her. I'm sorry. You're going into a zombie place that most of these people haven't killed zombies, and you're just going to bring your daughter in, and you're supposed to be the leader. I was expecting a little bit more conflict from that scene itself, from anybody else.
The motivation too. I didn't like the motivation the daughter had to go into to go after that other girl. Like, she wasn't related to them. She's just someone that she helped. I'm like, I don't know. To me, the motivation of her being so feverish about wanting to go in there and get this person back, to me, it was like, man, I didn't believe it. But I'm gonna say that a lot for a lot of these characters too. So
yeah,
I get what you're saying, and I couldn't agree more.
And when so one of the most badass people that has never killed a zombie before, when she gets trapped by Dillahunt, the actor that plays the CEO's partner or something like that, that was probably the coolest action scene in the film. By herself, she got the knife, she's doing smart, she's like stabbing the zombies and holding them up as a shield and pushing them. She got the pistols and going, and she's doing the tactical reloads and stuff like that. So you could tell that actor went through some training herself on how to reload and how to shoot those guns. You can totally tell. And she played it off so well because in the very beginning she's holding these guns weirdly, and I'm like, oh, I don't think she's doing it weird. And then all of a sudden she goes into the action, I'm like, oh, I'm in it. Let's do it. Go, girl, go. You know. But then she gets out in the hallway, and those guys are just looking at her with all these zombies, and they're not covering her. I'm like, you couldn't have shot the zombies more, or the fact that when she's got this conversation with them, she couldn't have like screamed out like, hey, this guy's a piece of shit. He locked me behind you guys. Kill him. There was like that was I felt like that could have been done better, I guess, you know.
Well, way better. That wasn't even like kind of that, and you're absolutely right. Which, by the way, the scene you're talking about is great. The fact where the dude throws off of the glow stick to throw off the the group, especially her, because she knows, and it couldn't have been a secret, right? She probably wasn't the only person that knew that, and so the only person that brings it up, they're tracking. So to set the scene for people that haven't seen it, these zombies in this world that Zack created, because it's a great world builder, right? For these movies, the zombies are sleeping or resting, in which case they sleep standing up. It's very reminiscent of Train to Busan, which I think that if Train to Busan were to say, hey, you kind of copied this, Zack would have a hard time saying no, I didn't. But this group of the mercenaries have to navigate this very small corridor between these zombies, and what you're talking about is, you know, the dude set to make sure that the money gets jacked. He throws one of the main characters off by flicking off the glow stick that was kind of the breadcrumbs that she filed. What did I say?
Followed. Yeah.
Yeah, about that. But yeah, so that was a great scene. There was a lot of tension in that scene. It made me uncomfortable. I'm like, all right, now we're getting somewhere. It's not just dudes with machine guns blowing zombies away. It's, you know.
And that literally was the beginning at the end for me, because that was the only scene with the sense of an urgency. Because I was like, okay, they have to get to the heist, and then they have the time frame to do it. But then as they go through, there's like no sense of urgency from the other actors. Okay, there's this nuke coming, this radiation. We need to get out of here. We need to escape the blast radius and stuff. But then for the rest of the time, they're like, oh, we need to move. Let's just chat for a little bit. Or there's a guy working on the safe, and we're just going to talk next to him, even though he's constantly saying there needs to be quiet. This guy doesn't have any tools. He's doing it all by ear, which is a lost art on most senses and stuff like that with safes, especially if it's supposed to be the best safe ever. And he's got all these writings and stuff like that, but you guys are still talking right next to him. There's no sense of urgency about clearing a way to the helicopter or pilot or anything like that either. So they're like, as the movie progresses, there's no urgency from the time frame. Even when they get up to the chopper, they're just walking up to it like normal. I'm like, okay. I'm thinking like, go, go, go. There's obviously this alpha zombie behind us. We need to get in this chopper and leave. This nuke's about to come crashing down. Pretty sure we can't escape the blast radius in 30 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
So that I had a problem with. And again, if you're listening in on the show and you haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry. There's definitely going to be spoilers. I know Chris kind of said it a couple times. But then he gets bit, right? And then I even told this to Rachel while we're watching. I'm like, please don't do the cliche where you're going to talk for a good 5 minutes, even though we know from the first scene when the main alpha bites somebody, it's like instant. It's almost, they turn like very, very quickly. And then they go on to have a conversation. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like pulled out of the conversation. I'm like, where's your friend that you saved? She was in the helicopter. Where'd she go? You know? They didn't even say anything about that. And all of a sudden she's got a gun, which she lost the gun and the fight was empty. I'm like, is this the magic gun that just shoots bullets? Like, what was that? You know? And then at the end, when Hardwick comes out from the safe, I'm like, sure, you probably could survive a blast from that nuclear attack in the safe, but you probably couldn't come out for a good, couple of years. And he comes out, and he's in ground zero, and he's like, oh, cool, I'm just going to walk out of here. Huh?
Yeah.
No, you'd start deteriorating. I know they said it's a low-yield nuke, but it's still a nuke. If you're in ground zero, you're coming out into that radiation's definitely going to kill you, no matter what. And I'm trying to, chalk it up. I'm trying to give him the idea, okay, maybe he's got the zombie virus in him. That's what he's allowing him to survive. I can maybe suspend my disbelief, which is a little bit of that. But those are the main problems I had with the film, especially the ending part.
I agree about the ending. The ending to me felt... they were kind of set in a first sequel, right? And so somebody brought something up online where if you looked at Hardwick's chest, he's got an Omega tattoo on his chest, like a brand.
Yeah.
And so people have made Omega, by the way, releases this Friday.
Nice little lead-in. No.
That's I know, right? It's gonna be a perfect lead-in. I saw it and I took it as fuck, I gotta start editing again. but so people are saying that because there was the clever little alpha and the omega is the last sequence, that's their lead into maybe Hardwick's character would survive, because we don't ever see who bites him. We don't know who bites him. So he does have that fight with the main zombie or the main alpha, and so we see him get like cut up, and so maybe that's assumed that that's the same thing as the bite, although we do see the bite. So we'll see how well it does. I mean,
you know why he had the Omega tattoo on his chest, right?
No.
That was Zack Snyder doing a little lead-in for Darkseid, because that's Darkseid's symbol that he has branded on his chest. So he put that in as a little nod to Justice League.
Maybe. I can't. That's. Yeah, I guess I could see that. But
in an interview with IMDb, he actually even said it.
I'm gonna look that up. So I didn't like any of the characters. Now, there are things that I liked about Zack Snyder's film. There are things that I like about all Zack Snyder films, and this one, granted, had much less slow motion than Justice League, which I can't stand it when it's overused, and I think maybe he heard that, because when it was used here, it was okay. It didn't take me out of it. It wasn't distracting like it was in Justice League, which inevitably I will compare it to. But I'm also going to make comparisons to the 2004 Dawn of the Dead, because that's a big deal. Like, this was touted as Zack Snyder's return to the franchise that built his career, and I think that's a fair assessment to make. And if you've seen it, which I think you've seen Dawn of the Dead, right? The remake.
Oh yeah, sure, for sure.
So the opening sequence, I'll never forget this, and I was really into it because that was before zombies had become oversaturated and were fucking everywhere. So
right.
I really, and the fact that it was a remake of Romero's loose remake of Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which was one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. I followed that very closely, and so when you have the opening sequence of Dawn of the Dead, which is fucking incredible. I remember a studio executive having an interview, I think with a Hollywood Reporter or maybe Variety, forget. He said that for the rest of Zack Snyder's career, the only thing he's going to ever have to do to get a meeting with any, head of a studio is going to show the first 15 minutes of Dawn of the Dead. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's right. And so watching this film, I kind of felt the same way. Like the first 15, 20 minutes of Army of the Dead might be it's visually stunning. My God, it's great.
It's amazing.
Right, and I love the sequence of events that we get when the movie first kicked off. Those two soldiers in the car talking, going back and forth. For me, as soon as the door opens after the accident with the containment unit, which I'm a huge fan of that, the way they drove that. That's when it starts to fall apart for me, because it's not believable. I don't think that something pops out like that. These soldiers were just kind of, to me, it just didn't vibe out. And then that's where it fell apart for me. I mean, I love the sequence where Vegas fell. I think that was cool. It reminded me a lot of Zombieland's opening sequence.
The opening credits, I love that. Yeah, it told a story instead of just showing the credits. We're actually involved in that. I hate, because most people get turned opening credits. Okay, cool. I'm gonna grab popcorn. No, you're watching it. You're seeing what's happening, what's going on, and stuff like that too. That was really cool.
Which Dawn of the Dead did really well too. I think that's we're kind of making these links, and I'm sure Zack had someone in his ear talking about that. But the biggest part of it for me was the characters. I didn't like any of them. I didn't feel emotionally attached to any of them. I couldn't. Then they weren't great people. When we first open up and the main bad guy is offering the money, says you got, I think it's $50 million to split however you want it, and then you hear Dave Bautista's character saying you get 15, but you get 200,000, you get 10,000 or whatever. Yeah. It's they weren't great people to begin with, and Dave Bautista, he is a mountain of a man. I love him as Drax, but I think they may have given him too much emotional acting at this point. I don't know if I believed him in any part of this movie.
I believed him when he was having that conversation with how he wants to talk to his daughter. You could see the self-doubt in his face a little bit. I could understand. I could get with him on that. When he was originally trying to talk to her, I want you to create a life for yourself. I don't want you to be held back by the decisions I've made or what I've done to you. Yeah. I could get with that. Lit brings up a really good point, and something I haven't even touched on. What was with the baby? She was pregnant and
Again, this is Zack Snyder. This is him being the director, the writer, the cameraman, the producer. This is where you miss the eyes of a studio exec saying, "Yo, no," because that's just not going to work. That's not going to fly. You're already stretching the audience's disbelief, or you're creating this world. You've done a good job of it so far, for argument's sake. You can't introduce a child, a zombie baby, which, by the way, Dawn of the Dead tried that too.
Yeah, it did.
So, You know what I mean? And so I don't know. That didn't land for me. I thought, you know, but a lot of that stuff didn't land for me. Like I didn't love the characters. I didn't. And then we have that weird love, that weird confession of "I love you" between Batista and the main chick. Where the fuck did that come from?
Right?
That wasn't a movie. Like, you can't do that, bro. You can't just write this in right before you kill off a character. That does not fly.
She just gets her head snapped. I was like, I thought a zombie was supposed to bite. I didn't know they actually went through like physical combat training.
Right? Yeah. But you know, to me, that was just that was terrible. And honestly, I think about it. I think the main villain of the movie was his daughter. His daughter got all those people killed.
Yeah, she did. Everybody died. Even her friend that she went through like this whole process of putting everybody in danger, and all of a sudden her friend just gets teleported out of the chopper somehow. She's not even there. We don't even see the end of that. That
Did
part.
I miss that? Did you see where she went? I don't
No,
know.
that's what I brought.
Brought it up too.
That's what I'm like. Well, I was telling Rachel, I was like watching him, like, where'd she go? They're having this huge long conversation after he's like, oh, I'm bit. Here's your. And she pulls out the gun that we know is empty, and she shoots her dad. I was like, so everybody dies, and I'm pretty sure the daughter's gonna die because she's like, when you see a freaking nuclear cloud, what do? You hold your thumb up to it, and if the cloud is bigger than your thumb, you're dead. You know? I'll chalk that up to Fallout for doing that with me, but my God, yeah, that whole ending scene was like, oh, it was just atrocious, dude. I hated it.
If you're the writer, it's funny. You've been part of projects where you're the writer, director, and DP. It's like, and I was telling this to Dustin yesterday, who's seen it, and he's like, when you write a script and you've done 7 passes of it, even when stuff's spelled wrong, you know how it sounds in your head, so you see it on the page. It's like you begin to start propagating things that's not there. So to you it makes sense, but to other people it's like, well, no. And so I think, you're right. That ending sequence was somebody fucked up big time. But again,
I mean, the script was written 10 years ago. You don't think that they had like somebody that pre-read this throughout the years? It's like, yeah, this is fine. This is good. We'll use this. No.
Yeah, exactly. If they did, then we wouldn't have had that issue, right? So for me, it's like fucking, I don't know. But again, I didn't like the characters. I didn't like the ending. I also didn't hate the fact that the world they created with the zombies. I didn't hate it. I thought we lingered on it too long. Like the first part when we see the female alpha and the male alpha, or they're like dancing, they're moving around. The cameras, we're staying on this too long. Like there needed to be a tighter edit. It felt like we, to me, I don't know if it was showcasing the characters or maybe he's like, oh, do this and just kind of do that, which I've done, so I'm guilty of it. But, again, when you're the writer, the director, the producer, in the DP, it's like...
It's a lot of hats.
You have complete control over it. So, I will say that's why Tarantino gets away with having 3-hour cuts, which, by the way, this was a 2.5-hour movie, which...
It was.
It feels like at some points. The part that you're talking about, and I couldn't agree more, the urgency. There was no urgency. Like, you have this window of maybe 20 minutes where people are just sitting around bullshitting. We don't want to see that as an audience. You cut that 20 minutes out. Now you have an airtight 2-hour movie that really moves. But I don't know.
I really liked the German actor though. He was hilarious. It was like Kano again. Like he was. I enjoyed his scenes, like his banter with everybody.
The German guy?
Yeah, the safecracker, the locksmith guy. Yeah, I liked him a lot. I thought it was interesting.
And that's a great lead-in. He is the character of one of the prequels. Did you know that?
Oh, good, because like he's like one of the most successful actors from Germany. So it's cool to see him coming back. I love to see him. His acting was really good. I liked him a lot. I thought it was
his scenes with Hardwick were great. That was my favorite part of the movie. Hardwick and the German actor. And so the German actor's prequel, it's called Army of Thieves. It's already wrapped. Like they've already shot it. And
wow.
Already named it. Yeah. And the hard part, and again, I don't know. Oh, he also directed it. I forget that. Yeah, he also directed that too.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, go figure.
All
but
right.
because, in the film, he talks about he's never seen a zombie. He's never killed a zombie. But yet the prequel takes place and I don't want to call it a zombie apocalypse because it's really not, right? It's like it's contained around Vegas. That's where the air quote apocalypse is. Outside of Vegas, it's not so much existent. So I think they may have painted. Well, we'll see. But for me, I don't see a way where you could have a prequel in this universe with this character with zombies, but yet in the Army of Dead, he's never seen a zombie. He doesn't know how to kill a zombie. So.
Right. So that's interesting for a prequel on how they're going to show that then, because he definitely makes that known. I'm surprised they didn't film this in Vegas with the lockdowns and stuff like that. It would have been perfect because it would have been a freaking dead street area for them to film with COVID and all this other stuff,
Well, maybe they did. I don't know enough about it. It's just coming out because they don't want to give too much information before Army of Dead came out. But maybe they did, dude. That's a great fucking point. Maybe they did.
Because of everything going on. I mean, I remember when they had the locust problem, like around the time I had my bachelor party and the expo up there, dude. Vegas was dead, and with COVID, everything was shut down. Nobody was at the casinos and stuff. So that's intense. I wanted to ask Sean, like he said about makeup. I wanted to know if he actually got to wear those alpha zombie contacts. I forgot to ask him about that.
That's a good point because that would be difficult to do. That was.
Yeah, you put me through that, Mr. Let's do a mirror thing and put you in makeup for a couple hours.
I have. So that's okay. I have a 15-minute cut of mirror. And
Can I see it? I still want to see it. I've not seen any of it.
I'll do that. I could share a link with you. I can't. I messed up. That was when I was still kind of learning my lighting techniques and whatnot. I was very young, and or younger.
The longest time I've ever sat in a makeup chair was with you, man. I was sitting, I don't know, like 3 hours with the hands and stuff, the face stuff, the nose.
It looked great. You looked great.
Great. I want to see it.
I'll send you a link.
Please, I'd love to. Yeah, put it in the drive, bro. That'd be great.
Okay.
I can
do that.
This is a great show, man. I mean, what do we want to talk about next time, chat? Did anybody have any ideas? Because I was thinking maybe Spiral,
I want to do Spiral. I think Conjuring, we talked about June 4th. Conjuring comes out. In the Heights comes out later that month, too. I think that's a big deal with Miranda's. He got huge off Hamilton. And In the Heights, I think it's directed by Spielberg. Is that right? I think it's not right. That's West Side Story. But In the Heights is it's lighting up reviews. But before we do that, so give me a wrap up. What did you think of, like, on a scale of 10? What did you think of Army of the Dead?
I'm gonna give it a 6.
You motherfucker! I should have gone first. I'm gonna give it a 6.
No, I'm gonna give it a 6 because it was entertaining. It was fun to watch. Yes, it was a zombie film. You take that with it as it comes. But the ending sucked. I didn't like the no sense of urgency. There were some scenes that were like, oh, that's great, and all of a sudden they kill it at the end. I'm like, this fight scene in the hallway and stuff like that. I love the tension with that. I always thought it was interesting seeing Dillahunt be another zombie thing because he's in Fear of the Walking Dead and he gets capped by the freaking tiger. I thought that was a cool scene. Just the intense gore, like the way the zombies were killing stuff, that was cool to watch. Like that one zombie that takes off that guy's jaw in the very beginning, the way the tiger death and stuff like that. The CGI and the special effects from the zombies attacking people, all that stuff, 100% 10 out of 10 out of those. I loved watching that stuff. The action stuff was great to watch. The choreography was really great. Did not appreciate the lack of urgency or the sense of like, hey, we need to get the fuck out of here.
What was the best part of the movie for you?
Like I said, like the girl fighting the zombies after she gets delayed and then locked out of the room. That was my favorite part.
That was the favorite part of the movie.
Yeah, well, how about you?
I would also give it a 6 out of 10. I would say, it's funny. I tend to watch mediocre, and I'm not saying it's mediocre, but I mean, my rating system kind of says that it does. But I'll watch it again. Like, it's one of those movies that I will have on in the background because it doesn't really require your full attention. It looks good, again, like most sex anime movies do. You don't really need to get invested in the characters because, like most sex anime movies, you don't.
No, everybody dies. You're fine.
You can have, you can just have it, and it's fun. It's fun. You can put it on the background and just enjoy it. Like it's So 6 out of 10. My favorite part, no shit, was the part when they're navigating through the sleeping zombies, which was interesting. Again, it was. I definitely think lifted from Train to Busan, but that's not the first time in cinematic history that any one filmmaker.
I Am Legend.
You know what I mean? And I Am Legend. They were never. Oh yeah, they were sleeping. That's right.
Yep, they were hibernating.
That's true. That's right.
You like turn off the flashlight and told the dog to come out.
That's absolutely right. And I don't think it was better than Zombieland for what it was trying to do. I don't think it was better than Shaun of the Dead, which people have actually asked, is it in the same universe as Shaun of the Dead? Because there are emotional moments,
really,
peppered in there with a bunch of visual things and zombies. So, but 6 out of 10 is fair. My favorite part was when we're navigating through the dead bodies, but it's all right. I mean, in the time of we're coming out of COVID, and I think for A Quiet Place 2, that's going to be probably the next big horror thing that comes out. I think next.
Can't wait.
Me too. Like this was a great lead into that. I mean, it's on Netflix. You got it. You can watch it from home. Like it was fun, right? And I think if you're looking for a fun movie, maybe we're spoiled too, Nate. Maybe we become fucking film snob because I think there is some of that. People are gonna say, "Fuck these guys," you know. It's funny and it's good, and people are within their right to say that, and they're probably right.
I don't think we're that far, man. I know a lot of people out there that just hate on everything. They're just haters just to do it. You and I go into it with like an artistic sense of purpose. You know, we see what's there, we enjoy the stuff that we like, and then we also know like, hey, you didn't hit the bar on this one. Do better. You know,
I would like to think that.
Yeah, I don't see us as being haters, honestly, on films. We do this podcast to enjoy, share what we enjoy, and also talk about, hey, we like to see this differently, and hopefully sometime, more people like will follow and see this as well too, and understand our process as well too, because we're not just viewers. You know, we are creators of our own self in our own right. We're artists. We do our own thing, but also we enjoy seeing other stuff, and it gives us inspiration. You know. You steal from the best. I mean, that's what makes it. If artistic people weren't artistic and they didn't do what they would, everybody would just make shoes. You know?
That's a great point. That's true. Absolutely.
I think this was a great episode, guys. Thanks for joining us here on ReelChat every Sunday, 11 a.m. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out on our own YouTube channel, ReelChat, on there as well, too. Thank you so much for joining us. Chris, do you have anything else to say to the folks?
No, man. This has been so cool talking to Sean and talking to you and getting his story and to see when we're at. And no, man, it's great. And I think you're right. I think we should do Saw Spiral. I think let's do Saw Spiral next week.
Yeah.
I think it's the rebooting of one of the most successful franchises in horror history.
Started off as an independent film made in a garage.
Right. Yeah. We could afford one actor and one location. Figure it out, and they did. And it's so it's basically launched James Wan's career and Lee Winnell for that matter too. So, no, that's awesome, man. I loved it. I love spending Sunday morning with you guys and you, especially Nate. So, no, man, take us out.
Absolutely, bro. Hey, Arctic, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll catch you guys all later next Sunday, 11 a.m. right here on ReelChat. Thanks so much for joining us.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.